Julia Kempton, and this week's story is that the IMF says global recovery continues, but the momentum has weakened and uncertainty has increased. The International Monetary Fund released its biannual World Economic Outlook last week. The IMF is a major lender to the federal banks of countries with emerging markets, so in that sense, it's very relevant to this week's EDG topic, development and finance. The new report from the IMF comes despite ongoing controversy regarding its director, Kristalina Georgieva. A meeting 2 weeks ago somewhat absolved her of culpability in a scandal which nearly derailed her leadership position at the IMF. She was implicated in the manipulation of Chinese ease of doing business ranking in a World Bank report in 2017, manipulating it in China's favor. The IMF's Executive Board found that her alleged interference in the report and her previous position as the Assistant Director at the World Bank did not conclusively demonstrate impropriety, and that it maintained, quote, full confidence in the Managing Director's leadership. Japan and the United States had apparently both wanted Georgieva to resign, and U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen had allegedly stopped taking Georgieva's calls. The EU, Russia, China, and most developing economies in the International Monetary Fund, however, were largely in favor of Georgieva staying as the chief of the IMF. The findings of the board's investigations came amid the annual meetings of the IMF and the World Bank in D.C. Both institutions date to the Bretton Woods Conference in the post-World War II era, and have long been dominated by a duopoly of the United States and powers from Western Europe. But the IMF in particular has been accused of excluding China and nations in the global south from positions of administrative power. For instance, the United States has about 3 times the voting power of China, despite them having similar-sized economies and the latter having a much larger population. While Georgieva has held onto her spot, the debate over the purpose of the IMF, its efficacy in the development world, and the role that China will play in it, if China continues to play a role in it, is far from settled. The result of the IMF's most recent global economic outlook itself were somewhat disappointing, predicting that the world economy would grow 5.9% overall in 2021 and only 4.9% in 2022. A June report from the IMF had put economic growth at about 6%, but Georgieva said in early October that even lower growth was expected because of slowed recoveries from the pandemic due to vaccine inequality and the Delta variant, and because, well, she estimated that OECD countries would likely return to pre-pandemic levels of economic output within a year, emerging economies could take, quote, many more years to recover. While this story is more macroeconomic and finance-minded than our usual reports about specific national policies and innovation in developing economies, it still applies well to the Sustainable Development Goals. Number 1, no poverty, and number 16, strong and just institutions. Thank you, and now, on to the meeting.